Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, you name it, all over the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have another amazing guest. He is Mr. Blue. He is the founder of LEVR. Mr. Blue, welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Let's kick things off because I'm really interested in what you have to say. I start with the easiest and simplest question is this. You know, it might not be so simple, but what is your background, and is it a logical background now?
Yeah, so as far as crypto goes, I got my start doing GPU mining early 2017 into 2018. Stuck with it, and during the early portions of the COVID lockdowns, I got addicted to DeFi, dived in with both feet, quit my job, went full-time into crypto, and really never looked back. So I consider myself a DeFi native. I've been trolling around in it for a few years now, helped out various projects with business operations and whatnot, and find myself as the spearhead on what I think is going to be the next great innovation in gambling.
I have been gambling for many years. So
You and I both, brother.
nice. So LEVR, what's it all about?
Bringing a new 0 to 1 innovation to the gambling space. And we do this by offering leverage on your sports betting positions. To our knowledge, we're the first ones to solve this. We're definitely the first ones with our exact system. And beyond bringing the new system, we want to bring the power of the new system to bettors themselves, which is more profitability on the same games.
Got it. So you don't hear many people talking about leverage on sports betting. You hear them losing, but you don't hear about leverage. So what are the benefits of leverage on sports betting?
Well, a fewfold. First, you have more collateral backing your position, or more purchasing power backing your position than you do collateral. So I can come in with $100 and I can get $500 of position size. Let's say I'm really strong on the Golden State Warriors versus the Lakers game on the Lakers because Curry's out and LeBron's in and whatever's happening. I'm going to go balls to the walls on that game. I can bet on that and potentially win double, triple, 3, 5 times my money, depending on what the odds are. Whereas before you were winning 75, 100, 125% based on the odds. So it gives you a bet on the same type of line, money line, over, under, handicap market on the same game, traditional one game, but you get the parlay profit potential or the prize picks profit potential on that bet.
So you're amplifying your odds.
You're amplifying your winning power is the way that I like to put it. And speaking of odds, one of the interesting things that happens is when we offer users leverage, we start removing the necessity for the sportsbook to operate on VIG as its source of profit. So we can inflate or decrease the VIG off of the odds and offer superior lines to other casinos with leverage and the fee set that comes with it.
What's the VIG?
So right now we normalize the VIG off of both ends of the line. And so our pricing structure for odds works on a dollar basis. So we convert the odds into a dollar basis, and then we pay every redeemable token in a dollar. So an example of this would be an even money bet. We're going to tokenize those odds into 50 cents, sell 50-cent ERC20 tokens for that market, allow them to be tradable in our marketplace during the game. And then all users who didn't get liquidated and still hold those tokens can claim them, redeem them for $1 after the game, right? So because we work on that dollar scale, we try and normalize both sides into a total price of $1. So if there's a home and away bet, an over-under bet, a yes, no, we want both of the token prices to equal $1. That doesn't exactly equal out to removing VIG perfectly from both sides, but it gets close.
Got it. And you're covering every sports game, right? Or
so just to start with, we're going through various beta tests We did a little NBA beta test during their finals. We've done a little MLB beta test. We're in heavy alpha on NFL right now, and we'll hopefully be doing beta test on NFL during the live season. But when we launch full live for cash bets, we plan to have NFL, MLB, NBA basketball, college basketball, college football, Premier League, Champions League, and we're hoping to get the cricket leagues in there as well. And then on those, the markets is what we call them, which is a bet type for us that we'll offer will be over, under, spread, and money line.
And you do all this through a perps dex, right? Perps. I want to find out how the perps dex works. Why you marry it? Well, that's a good idea to marry it with sports betting, and the benefits for the bettors, of using the dex.
So the reason it's kind of out of necessity to create leverage on sports betting, just to give a little backstory on Lever, we wouldn't have been able to make this project conceptually if I wasn't a heavy degen in GMX at the time, right? So shout out GMX and their whole crew, very, very thought provoking, and the way in which them as well as many other perp dexes offer leverage on these is really you're betting up or down on the price feed that's incoming from the Oracle. So for us, our system works kind of the same way. We have custom Oracle infrastructure that we've built and stood up, and we pull in odds data from various odds providers that generate this from IRL casinos. We then tokenize those odds in the aforementioned format and then offer the leverage positions on those price feeds. So again, example, let's say 50-cent bet, you're 5x leveraged up, which means you have a liquidation price of around 40 cents on that position. So live during the game, if those odds dip to a converted pricing of 40 cents, I'm going to liquidate you and capture your underlying collateral, right? But inverse of that is if they don't, you're going to win 5 times your money if that bet hits. So that's one part of it, and that gives the user the chance at that leverage position that we had talked about. But that's not enough to solve for this. What we figured out in our initial workings of the product and our initial math and trying to prove out a positive EV product for a casino was that if you just offer that AM model, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. You're going to have to liquidate way too many people. It's not going to be fun for the bettors. So to facilitate something that's superior to that, we install a trading market into the live game of each game, in the live market of each game. So let's say you're again betting on that money line bet on the Lakers versus the Warriors, the actions pinging back and forth. It's a close, good game. That's tradable volatility to us. You can trade that volatility on the odds, especially since we've tokenized those odds and we've opened a marketplace for you. So on top of making the profit on leverage, a user can come into our in-game trading marketplace and flip those positions and trade them appropriately, or maybe not appropriately, during the game and make 4, 5, 10 times their money that they would have otherwise made if they can pull off the market dynamics to do so live during the game. So on top of leverage, it also opens up a very interesting liquidity and trading mechanism that can be capitalized on during the game. And that really blows the roof off the whole thing into a fully functional DeFi product for sports betting.
Let me see if I understand this correctly. You bet, say you have 100 for the Lakers game. Whoever they play, San Antonio, they're losing by 30 going into the fourth quarter. You think Lakers aren't going to lose by 30. They're going to make it down. They're going to only lose by 10. You can put additional bets in the game, on that spread in the fourth quarter.
So you can come into the live market, and if there's a user that's willing to sell you their position, which there should be, it's a live market, right? And we have a market maker bot that provides a floor and a ceiling on this thing. But you could buy that position. Let's say it's down at 25 cents. You buy it at 25 cents. You take leverage on it. Let's say 4x leverage, right? You come in, and all of a sudden it goes up to when your bet pulls through, they run away with the lead. You were correct on your move. Instead of winning from 25 cents up to $1, 400% on your money, you're going to win 1,600% because you've levered up 4x on that.
Interesting. I like it. I'm done. No. I've been a fantasy football guy, like, and baseball.
As have I.
20 plus years, right? How could this be used in fantasy?
So we're looking at solutions to use it in essentially like fantasy pick'em style operations, but we have a roadmap to get there. And the first thing on that roadmap, and I consider the fantasy pick'ems and stats pools really just prop bets, right? It's traditional prop bets, maybe taking over a shorter time frame or a unique odds set. We have to first get long-term prop bets dialed in, which is season-long champion, home run champion, goal scoring, that type of thing. After we get that dialed in, we can start retroactively pushing it down in time scale to the single game prop bets. Now, caveat to this, the liquidation thresholds on those are going to be outrageous because the odds of them are already outrageous, right? So if I have to pay somebody a 30-1 odds and I'm going to give them leverage on it, they need to be right every second of that bet or they're liable to get liquidated. But our system scales up and down into that. We just have to have the time to get through and actually dev out all of that product. And we're only right now 6-person full-time, 12-person total team. It just takes a while for us to get there. But thankfully, we've got good backers and good stuff going forward. So we will be getting there.
Got it. That sounds good to me. So let's talk about why sports betting should be decentralized, what it should have been decentralized to begin with, and the benefits and what the problems that are being solved other than the bookie trying to rip you off.
Oh, well, I mean, let's forget that, right? Because even big bookies and professional gambling sites will rip you off with KYC and erroneous qualifications for contests, and maybe they yank something on you. So that's just like decentralization solves that stuff. It's by a smart contract tied to an oracle, tied to 3 oracles technically, so that there's consensus on the outcome. It's not going to screw you in that manner. But what else happens in traditional markets that we're looking to solve is a lack of liquidity and a lack of placement onto odds. So if a little team story on us, we're one of our co-founders is very, very involved in a professional sports betting fund. They developed a really, really competent AI that hammers lines. And from this, the casinos know us, right? And from the casinos knowing us, they're not going to let us go in like, let's say, Caesars or MGM or wherever in Vegas or any other the brick and mortars. And they're not going to let us place a large $50,000 bet because they know that we're sharps, and that's probably not going to be in their best interest. One of the things that I'm really, really excited for sports betting and Web3 to take off is to remove that friction, to remove that gatekeeping. In a world where your product should be built to defend all users, it shouldn't rely upon underhanded tactics to defend itself, right? It just needs to work. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish with it. And we hope and has somewhat been accomplished in the greater Web3 landscape. Users can just come in and play, regardless of who they are. If the liquidity is there, they can take it, right? That's one thing. The second thing on that is the ability to actually get that liquidity down in a timely fashion. A lot of the times, yes, online betting's great, but good old-fashioned handshake bookies are a large portion of the worldwide gambling handle on sports betting. And a lot of times that's WhatsApp chats, that's Telegram groups, that's handshakes, that's calling a guy, that's sending text messages. That stuff's slow, it's outdated, it causes friction, and it doesn't allow sports bettors to maximize their profit potential. Web3 solves for that beautifully.
It's interesting. You mentioned underhand tactics. I know what some of the underhand tactics are in Wall Street. What are some of the underhand tactics that you've seen in your industry?
I mean, I've seen more than a handful of times. Sites where everything's going good for a user, they're moving inflows and outflows of size and significant volume, and they come away with a rather large parlay win or a rather large win to their standard size, and all of a sudden there's 10 layers of KYC placed above, right? And for some reason, none of those KYC documents are passing. But we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. We're not going to name names. That's good. You claim the world is ready for a sports betting or revolution, right? I want to see what that revolution is going to be like going through, and what you see as the end result of this revolution.
I mean, I think you're seeing the beginning phases of it. It really started with the 2020 lockdowns, where people move online in a lot heavier degree. You saw a large, sharp spike in online betting right that same time, right? And with that, you see DFS, you see pick'ems, you see parlay shops, you see people pushing the limits of licensing and boundaries on that front, with these different types of new betting experience. And you see traditional brick and mortars and casino providers kind of struggling to keep up. And now all of a sudden, you got a FanDuel's or a DraftKings that are the largest operators in the space, whereas they were just a niche kind of bet play when they started. I see similar stuff coming from Web3. Shout out to the prediction market space right now. You look at that is catching fire, and it's becoming known as a source of value in the real world outside of crypto. And I think a product like LEVR has that chance. Our plan long term is to use the infrastructure and backbone of Web3 to create a product that we can scale into retail, where retail doesn't know that the backbones underlying it are blockchain. They just know that it works and they can get leveraged bets down. And so I look at stuff like that as we're now at the time where account abstraction, payment rails, multi-chain infrastructure, blockchains that can house performant order books. The technology is there in a real tangible way now for us as builders to get products into the hands of retail that isn't going to fail in some method that could have been prevented from the tech stack. And that's super exciting to me as a builder, because it means if I build something great, I can get it into the right hands and we can start taking blockchain to the masses.
I think you said the key word to getting the blockchain to the masses is they don't need to know it's on blockchain. They just need to have it work.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, you don't know. This is the best explanation of this type of thing that I've ever thought, right? I'm deep in blockchain. You're deep in blockchain. Probably everybody that's going to listen to this conversation is deep in blockchain. Remove yourself from that aspect and look at it from a normie. Do they know how internet works? Do they know how an email gets from point A to point B? Do they know how a text message sends? Do they know how the credit card swipe does anything? Absolutely not. All they know is it works. That's what we need for blockchain. These products just need to work, and they need to work better because they're in Web3 than they could have in Web2.
I agree with that 100%. I look at, the sports industry, not the sports betting industry, but the sports industry right now, and I see some things. I see less interest in football and baseball. I see a shifting demographic. I see, younger people who do use Web3 who are not into sports. How do you see the lay of the land as far as the shifting demographics, and what are the risks involved with the sports betting in the future because of it?
Let's work backwards on that. The risk is always not staying ahead of where the curve is going, right? And not having the product ready that the users want to participate in. And so I see the landscape, and I think baseball is a perfect example of this. It used to be one of the most beloved sports in the United States, and not just in our neck of the woods, but in the entire world. Baseball was a phenomenon. You talk about stuff like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Giants and the Dodgers. These are storied rivalries, great entertainment. That stuff is just dropping off. It's becoming old. It's becoming stale. And you can say it's the game and the pace of the game. In reality, in my opinion, heavy what it is they haven't adapted to the technological innovations of the time, right? You look at something like NBA that's gained speed and steam here over the last few years. They are hard into social media. They are hard into clips, into video game contests on NBA 2K and things like that. I don't even know what the great MLB game is right now. I know it used to be 2K. I know it's not anymore, right? So I look at stuff like leagues that are able to keep touch with the times and integrate new technologies and stay ahead of things on that front are what are going to be successful and what new users are going to adapt into. Because eventually everybody who's watching baseball right now is going to be dead, right? And there's going to be a whole new crop of people. That means everybody who's betting on baseball right now is going to be dead. There's going to be a whole new crop of people. And so how do you prepare for that future? You get ahead of things, right? And so part of that for us is looking at things like esports, like F1 racing. Cricket is a huge one that we're trying to move into. And it's UFC is another one that is gangbusters right now in betting. And so we want to stay ahead of those trends and watch where the sports leagues are going so that maybe we spend a little bit less focus on something that's dying out and a lot more time and attention on something that's coming up.
It's interesting because I consider those sports brick and mortar, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost a direct comparison to sports betting world, to online retail, to everything else that's happening. If you can't adapt to the internet age, to the age of worldwide information, to cross-platform content, to reaching out and touching your users where they're at, your users aren't going to be your users for very long.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. So some of these new sports, how do you think, like cricket's huge in India, right? In Australia. What are the chances of these new sports catching on in the US?
I think it's actually pretty high. I think what it is right now it's a walled garden as far as TV broadcasting and dollars on that front go. And I think as we've all been seeing here over the past few years, the destruction of that media channel is slowly but surely happening. I don't have cable anymore. I do buy every sports league package, but I don't have cable. I don't watch any. I just got all the streaming services and we rock that. That's almost everybody I know. Even my elderly mother is going that route at this point, right? And so as those media empires shift into online, you have room for stuff. And I don't know, this is an example of something that could happen. Twitch steps up and does a multi-billion-dollar deal with a professional sports league that's up and coming, right? Or something along those lines, and gets it broadcast into 100 million homes worldwide via a streaming service or via some integration with an existing platform. That stuff can happen a lot quicker than people think. And I'll riddle you this. Go on an airplane. If you're on a long flight next time, anybody listening, walk up and down the aisle. There's almost assuredly one person watching live esports if that plane has internet. Juxtapose that with the amount of people watching basketball, baseball, football, you'll be surprised.
Interesting. So you think streaming, well, yes, I mean, streaming would have a huge role, in your industry in sports betting. How do you see maybe an assimilation or a partnership with a streaming company being able to help the gambler?
So I always look at it as like this is a social thing, right? Most people bet in a social environment. They want to talk about it with their friends that they're sports betting with. They want to show off their winnings, right? If you go to a UFC event, you'll see all sorts of betting activations out and about and around it, and there's lots of social engagement going on from out and about and around that. So I look at that the same way for us, right? I want to put social engagement as far as people streaming bets that they're making. We want social engagement in chat boxes so users can communicate with each other. We want to make it a feeling of watching a game with a friend as close to possible. So one of the things that we noticed very early on in testing internally was when we sat down as a group, we all watched one game, sat on a Zoom call or a Google Meet, and we're testing product. It became very competitive right away on who had what side. Open up my trade so I can get over on your side, guys. Look at this scalp I got off the simulation. It became very fun, very fast to communicate with others about it. So we want to capture that. We want to bottle it. We want to distribute it, man. And the best way for us to do that is to stream people in. Now, it's a long off goal, but I think other platforms are assuredly, and I know some that are being built just around this, right? Being able to bet on Twitch streamers as they're streaming live and that type of thing. And I think that's a lot of the future of what you're going to see. There's going to be lots of iterations and lots of testing before likely we find something that just gets mass adopted. But if you can draw people in and you can let them communicate on top of the platform, they're not going to go somewhere else to do that. That's more engagement. That's more stickiness. That's what we're after.
I like it. I like it. I'm interested in checking it out, and I might lose $100, but hey, I might win some.
Exactly.
Awesome. So one of the things you said at the beginning was you got into DeFi early, right? I was there too, but not building, but just observing and investing. But with DeFi, you have a very unique and interesting use case. I always thought it would be like to remove Wall Street. What are the other possibilities you see with DeFi that the normal person or wouldn't necessarily think is possible with DeFi?
So I'm a big crypto Twitter guy, right? You can find me at Big Mr. Blue holler or at lever_bet holler, and we'll chat a lot on stuff. And so what I look at right now that I'm kind of like seeing in that frame that excites me is real world asset tokenization and add into DeFi, because the biggest thing for DeFi for me has always been liquidity, right? You saw it sharply drop off with something like we mentioned earlier, the Celsius stuff and jumps and three arrows and that type of stuff going down. There comes a lot less liquidity. It's a lot less functional to move around, and it's a lot less easy to farm and whatnot. You add in trillions of dollars of real world assets. Like if I could tokenize oil and gas and then hold that into a yield farm platform and be farming real world production from that oil and gas well, that would be otherworldly, right? And so I see cool stuff like that getting built right now, and it excites me for what will be, in my mind, the third wave of DeFi. Because I mean, I still don't, and to be clear, I don't even think the public has been really exposed to the first wave. The power of just being able to hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, or let's say your Ethereum in self-custody. You can go send it in via smart contract to Aave, take a loan on that, facilitate payment, repayment, or default, or however you feel you're going to play that loan, all on chain, and then trustlessly take your cash back, pay it back, and function that loan is amazingly powerful. Amazingly powerful. Go try and get a home equity line of credit and tell me how hard that is versus taking a loan on Aave, right? And so if we can even get that into the hands of the masses in a streamlined way where they don't have to get this whole crypto and blockchain thing that kind of negs over the head of them on it, I think that's life-changing for millions of people, right? And so then you talk about the third layer of that stuff. We can start unpacking some really interesting use cases on how do you expand that again into stuff like real world assets or future revenues or AI infrastructure in future use cases. It's almost limitless.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I agree. Awesome. I look
We come a
forward to.
long way from food farming, man. Right? Like
Yeah.
I got my start in this whole thing when I hopped off Binance, the Binance exchange, which was my long-term exchange, onto Binance Smart Chain when they opened it up. I think I was there like the first week that thing launched, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to exist in Ethereum DeFi. It was going to bankrupt me after I tried 2 transactions, made an LP and unmade it, and it was half the stack I had, right? And so I got my whole start on that food farming rush, really got hooked in it there. And we have come such a far way from that nonsense. It's really astounding to look back on it, right? It's like 4 years, 5 years for this much innovation to have happened is astounding.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, I really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you very much for talking to me today. I have one last question, and it is, how can people find out more information about you, about Lever? How can they become users of your platform and start gambling and betting? How can they do that?
The best place is just go to our site, levr.bet, lever.bet. You can sign up for our upcoming beta tests. They're going to be token incentivized, so you get your start with a community in the protocol there. We have a very active Discord community. You can find the links on our link tree, which is posted in our Twitter at capital LEVR underscore lowercase BET, so lever underscore bet on X or Twitter. And you can reach out to us there directly if you got any questions, you want to know anything, you feel like you want to join the community and start adding to it. And we also have Discord and a spaces ongoing called Best Bets that we like to get people involved in. So if you find us on there, we can help get you whatever you need.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
This has been very good. I really appreciate you having us on. Thank you very much, and God bless.